If you haven't been under the rock over the past couple of weeks, you've probably heard about the recent TikTok trend in which people are basically fishing by asking what age they look. As you can already imagine, this weird way of putting yourself out there witnessed a major drama. Interestingly, almost in all of the cases, neither the audience was happy with how the person in question looked, nor was the person in question content with the answers they got. I mean, how could they? All they could hear was how they were looking 45 while they were actually 22. Like, what? How? Is this even possible? Well, apparently it is. You may remember my video from a couple of weeks back, in which I talked about how Gen Z was getting older quicker than the millennials. Well, think of this video as somewhat of a continuation of that, as this trend is basically the result of that whole chaos regarding the people's generations. I'm not sure who started this whole trend, but this particular video has been my introduction to the concept.
Somebody recently told me that they thought I was 36 years old. And I'm not.
Here's another good one.
Don't say anything ridiculous like 50 because I know I don't look 50, so let me know.
Oof. The silence is loud here. I mean, don't get me wrong, both of these women are gorgeous, and I'm sure they look exactly their age in real life. But when they put themselves on social media like this, I think they're inviting disappointment, anger, and drama into their lives. Like, the comments were brutal.
You're 19?
Yes.
You look older.
People were coming up with guesses from 30 years old up to 50 years old. It's clear that neither of those women looks 50, not in the slightest. So I guess we can easily dismiss those comments as petty and mean ones for no reason at all. But for the rest of the comments, I'm afraid I get where some people were coming from when guessing their ages older than they are. In the end, the lesson learned from this entire trend is clear on my part. Do not ask people questions online about you and your body that would put your mental health at risk. It's as simple as that. Like, we know that age perception is highly subjective and can be influenced by a variety of biases. People's estimates might reflect their cultural, personal, or societal biases about age, which might lead to such mean comments. Besides, let's be honest, receiving feedback that you look older or younger than your actual age can very much affect your self-esteem. Look at this video, for instance.
Respectfully, you look like you're pushing 45. Stop getting filler or Botox, whatever you have. It looks so bad.
I mean, she was rightfully devastated. No one would want to hear that they look old. Not after all that ageism imprinted on our brains for years by modern society. Besides, we should remember that this is social media, not real life. So actually, we have no idea what these people look like in real life. I mean, there could be bad lighting, bad video quality, makeup, or even filters, which might all impact our perception of age. Also, asking these questions is nothing but seeking external validation, in my opinion. They are either some form of phishing or a voluntary public humiliation to get clout. I don't see any other reason to do this, to be honest. And the only outcome it leads to is an endless comparison and competition on social media, as if there weren't enough of those. The thing that caught my attention the most during this entire process was the approach to the 30s, as if it was the 70s or something. Like, both the commenters and people who were phishing were treating the 30s as if it's the oldest age possible that a person can look like. The vibe I was getting the whole time was, I'm looking 30 years old, I better die already. As a millennial, I've always found Gen Z's obsession with being 30 odd, but I've never seen the scope of it at this level. As you can imagine, I was baffled by this despise and misunderstanding of the 30s by such a wide group of people. In fact, at one point, I questioned myself. I looked in the mirror and I asked myself, am I old? Does my face look older than it was a couple of years ago? Are the 30s truly an old age that we should all be concerned about? Well, as usual, I decided to look for answers in scientific studies about aging. Apparently, I was both right and wrong. Yes, the collagen production of the face was decreasing during the 30s, but the process of decreasing was actually starting during the mid-20s. In other words, we should be resenting at the mid-20s rather than the 30s, at least for the collagen part. During your 30s, your skin also starts to experience a reduction in elasticity, which causes fine lines. Your dermis, which is the middle layer of the skin, is thinning. Your cell turnover gets slower, you lose your hyaluronic acid, and it becomes drier. Sun damage becomes more evident, and for many, especially women, some hormonal changes are occurring that can also impact the skin. I know. All these sound very depressing. Trust me, I looked at the empty wall for a couple of minutes after reading all these to simply calm down and make peace with these facts. Later on, though, I did some further research and found that all these were reflected differently on each individual skin. In other words, your genetics, your environmental factors, your stress level, and whether or not you started to put on skincare in your 20s or not have a detrimental impact on how you look during your 30s. Besides, even though the 30s are the starting period of all these signs of aging, it's not the decade that any of these signs become reality. For many people, these changes are so slight that they're not even visible until way later in life. Aging is a gradual process that takes time. So in reality, in many cases, the skin in your 30s is actually not that different than the skin in your mid to late 30s. That's the reality of the issue. Then why are people obsessed with demonizing the 30s? Well, simply because of the ageism in society. We're constantly being bombarded by the youth-centric media and culture, idolizing youth constantly. So, inevitably, entering the 30s is seen as moving away from this idealized look. Besides, we should all remember that even though modern medicine and living standards have significantly extended life expectancy, historical contexts in reaching one's 30s were considered a sign of longevity. And I believe on a subconscious level, this historical fact still impacts people's perceptions of age and aging. This is a shame, especially considering that the average life expectancy is very long in our modern society, making 30s a quite young age in reality. But what do you think? Do you like this trend of fishing for age-related comments? Do you think 30s are an old age? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.